Hi, my name is Carlos López. I am from Magicians Without Borders, and I did not have any sound on. So thank you for reminding me, everybody. And thank you, Ruben, Clinton, Tamara. I now have sound. So if I do have sound, please send me those little thumbs up emojis and comments on Facebook, making sure that I am a live with the sound. So thank you very much. And now I'm going to start again. So welcome to our fourth episode of Magicians Without Borders Conversations. And on this episode, we are going to talk about our recent trip right before all this craziness happened to a wonderful place that I'm going to tell you about in a bit. And we're going to start, as always, with Tom Verner. Hey, Tom, how are you?
I am very, very good, Carlos. It's wonderful to see you again and to be having another conversation.
Oh, yes, wonderful to have you, Tom. And see, we all stumble into this tech issues. I started the broadcast without my mic on.
Well, I'm happy to see that the technology expert even sometimes has problems. I have them all the time, as you know. So
Very good, very good. So, Tom, so nice to see you again, like every week here, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And well, today, Tom, I want to talk about, we've talked about how you started this trips of Magicians Without Borders with your first trip to Ethiopia, to Africa, and then how we talked about the importance of doing magic for the homeless and well, all the things that came around that. But today I want to talk about, our latest trip. So, do you remember when when we first talked about the possibility of doing the last big trip that we did?
yeah, well, just for everybody's information, we have done 4 what we call service trips, and the way they evolved was we have had a relationship for probably about 7 or 8 years, maybe longer, with the Yale Magic Society. I think about 8 or 10 years ago, the founder of the Yale Magic Society, Jen Kramer, invited me and my wife, Janet, to come down to Yale University and do a presentation about Magicians Without Borders. And that started the relationship with the Yale Magic Society. And for the last 4 years, we have taken about 10 magicians from the Yale Magic Society to different places in the world where Magicians Without Borders have a program. The first trip was to India, and then Costa Rica and Colombia, and then the secret one we're going to talk about tonight, the last one we did in January. And we were thinking about where to go, what the next trip would be. And the vice president of Magicians Without Borders, a wonderful, wonderful man, Alex Posner, had gone to South Africa a number of times and did his own kind of service work there. And he talked with me and with Carlos about, why don't we go to Cape Town, South Africa? And I was just thrilled with that idea. And now I'd like to have you, Carlos, say what magical kinds of happenings started unfolding after we decided we were going to go to South Africa.
Yes, I mean, I remember that very vividly. We were in the end of one of our magic service trips here in Colombia, where I'm at, right after the final stage of our trips. And he just said, hey, I love, he said, my favorite city in the world is Cape Town. I want us to go and do a magic service trip there. And I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. I've never left America, right? So I've been to South America, Central America, North America, never outside. So I was like, oh, that would be awesome. And it kind of, we left it at that. Then, magical things started happening. But before we get into them, I want to set up like the mindset of what is a magic service trip.
Yeah.
A service trip, the idea is that we get volunteers who are magicians, not necessarily professional magicians, people that are interested in magic. They can do magic as a hobby, they can be starting up in magic, or they can be professional magicians. And we ask them to join us in one of the service trips, which are a combination of the trips that Magicians Without Borders usually do. They're full on just magic performances in faraway places and places that normally don't get access to magic, and tourism, doing touristic activities and getting to know the place in a very touristic kind of way. And that's the idea of these magic service trips, is that we merge the two together and we create a unique travel experience where you get to do social magic and you get to travel the country or the city where we're in. The magic, the social magic aspect of it has a very special element, and is that you're going to get to meet our students, the students that are in our education chapters. That's why the trips that we have done under the Magicians Without Borders magic service trips have been to places where we have our education chapters, in India, in Mumbai, in Costa Rica, in San Jose, in Colombia, in Bogota, and in South Africa, in Cape Town. So that's the magic service trip. So let me pull it back to what we were saying. It was 2019, right? January. We were finishing the magic service trip here in Colombia, and Alex, utters those words saying, "Hey, we want to go to, let's go to South Africa." And when he said that, I remember I was like, Cape Town, South Africa, no way. And why was I going no way? Because the weeks before, or days before, eh, we got an email actually on the website that I just shared on the comments there, from a guy called Jacques. And this guy, he's a wonderful magician from Cape Town. He just said, "Hey, I love what you guys do. I would love to start an education chapter here in Cape Town." And I was already talking with him about how to go about it. And I hear this in the end of our magic service trip without even having told anybody about this, because I have kept my communications with Jacques very private, because I just wanted to see where they were going. And when he said that, that was like a magical serendipity again, striking with all its force. And it was just like, we have to go, like that coincidence was way too powerful to ignore. And that's when the adventure started, when we started planning it.
Ken, I just want to say something about how these kind of magic connections, these magic moments, what my wife and I call angel moments. It's like there's angels arranging what's going to happen. About, I don't know how long ago it was now, like 6 years ago, someone called me. His name was Ryan Bart. And he had called me one other time and said, "I want to get involved with Magicians Without Borders." And so he called me a second time, and he said, "I just got a Fulbright scholarship to Columbia, and I want to go to Columbia and start a chapter of Magicians Without Borders, like get a group of young children together at a foundation and teach them magic." So I said, "Wow, that sounds fantastic." So we were going to keep talking. I hung up the phone. I walked to my mailbox, because I live out here in the country in Vermont. I walked down my long driveway to the mailbox. I opened the mailbox, and there is my copy of Linking Ring, the official magazine of the International Society of Magicians. And on the cover is Gustavo Lorgia, the premier magician of Colombia. And I walk up the driveway and I'm reading about him and how his grandfather was a magician and his father was a magician. And he's now the most famous magician in Colombia. And he says at the end of the article, he says, "It's wonderful being part of a dynasty of magicians, 3 generations. But what I would really like to do is to figure out how we can use magic to improve the lives of our people in Colombia." This was 15 minutes after I got off the phone with Ryan Bart. And so there was an email there, and I wrote to Gustavo Lorgia immediately. And within an hour, I got an email return from his wife. I'm sorry, from his daughter. And his daughter is in New York City studying. And she said, "I just heard from my father, and he will put all of his energy behind the Magicians Without Borders project in Colombia." And I asked her if she knew of a foundation. And she said, "Oh, there's a fundación in Ciudad Bolivar called Bella Flor. And I have a good friend who's there." And so she ended up connecting us there. And when Ryan went down to Bogota, he went to Ciudad Bolivar, to the Bella Flor Fundación, and started the program there. And as I've said before, the best thing that came out of that was not only that the kids learned magic and improved their lives in such wonderful ways, but we got to meet this wonderful guy named Carlos López. So that's the way this magic has been happening. So I just had to say that, Carlos. I hope that was okay.
Thank you so much. And yeah, serendipity is powerful. Like if that magazine was not in your mailbox that day, maybe none of this would have happened, right?
It's amazing. It's just amazing.
It's beyond understanding for me, and the fact that we're talking right now and that we're gonna bring up shortly somebody that I'm eager for everybody to hear. It's just mind blowing. It's just a yeah. I cannot explain it, but it's very very hopeful. The way these things happen. You know that we were thinking about South Africa, and then you know I mean Jacques emailed, then Alex says something, and we start about this whole journey.
Yeah.
So there are some questions here about how they can get in touch or involved with Magicians Without Borders. So there's some information on our webpage, magicianswithoutborders.com/join, and there's different ways that you can get in touch with us and get involved with Magicians Without Borders. So this whole serendipity that has led us to being here, right here, talking with you, Tom, about this wonderful trip in South Africa that I think it was one of the most ambitious ones we've done, meaning that it was a place that we did not know very well because none of us had been there before. We had to have somebody on site, and that's what I want to talk about right now. Right now, I want to talk about this guy right here. That guy right there on the picture. It's called Jacques Le Seuer, and he is a wonderful magician from Cape Town. He has a heart that is, as big as him. He's just full of good vibe and energy, and he just wants to create a world full of possibilities. He breathes breathes that, and when you talk to him, you very soon find out how he wants to use magic as a tool to generate hope and to change realities. And it's an honor for me to invite right now and have Jacques Le Seuer welcome and join our conversation. So hello, Jacques.
Hi guys.
Thank you very much that you're right now with us because it's like 1 a.m. in Cape Town.
20 past 1, but all very good. Really glad to see you guys.
Oh,
so here. Wonderful to see you. Oh, my. I so much want to come back to Cape Town.
Yeah, as soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
We had such an amazing time. Like every day, I think since the pandemic started, I was like, I'm like, oh yes, I want to repeat this, and I go through the pictures and the videos.
Yeah.
We just have an amazing time, Jacques.
We were lucky with the timing with the pandemic. It really was lucky.
Wow.
Everything went crazy.
Serendipity.
We did that trip in the beginning of this year, which seems like a bunch of eons away. But so, Jacques, so that everybody knows a little bit more about you. So tell us why, where did you get started learning magic?
Started learning magic. I was a kid, like most magicians start learning magic as a kid. I got a magic set when I was 5 or 6 years old. I went to, it was an expo, a science type expo, and there was a stand at the expo, and I walked past and there was a little lady in a fishbowl 3 inches tall, and I thought I need one of those. And that stand was the demonstration stand for the College of Magic, which is a school of magic in Cape Town, which is an incredible place, started by somebody called David Gore. I started there as a student, and I was at quite an academic school. And then when I started learning magic, that's all I'm going to ever do is magic. So left school, went full-time, finished at the College of Magic, went full-time into magic, traveled a lot as a street performer. And then it's just been my whole life since.
Pretty cool. Thanks. And if I were to ask you, what is magic to you, or what would you say? Like, how would you define magic?
Possibility, love and possibility, connection with other people. I think magic is one of the most powerful forces in the world. A lot of magicians downplay the fact that it's just tricks, but I think the experience of magic can be one of the most powerful experiences for any audience or any person watching it if it's done properly. And it's a very healing experience as well. The laughter and astonishment are healing experiences from my experience. And I've seen a lot of good come out of people watching magic. So for me, that's what magic is. The experience of magic is
I agree, and hearing you say the magic is connection also, it's wonderful, because the style of magic that I've seen you do, it's very hands-on. I mean, like hands-on.
Literally, yeah.
You're
not good for Zoom meetings.
Yeah,
not good for Zoom meetings.
Right.
Because for you guys out there, Jacques has a wonderful watch stealing routine that you can get on Pinwin Magic, and he just, that it's just amazing how he does it, and that style of magic of hands on the spectator it's wonderful.
One of my most the stories I remember the most, Jacques, is you telling how you were performing in a restaurant one night, and President Nelson Mandela was eating that night in the restaurant. And of course, he had his security guard around, and they were, making sure he was safe. And you came up to the table and did some magic and stole his watch, and you not only fooled him, but you fooled all of his security guards. I think that is really, really wonderful. I wanted to just say one other thing. When you said, I think you said something very powerful for any magicians out there listening, that magic has this power. You said it so beautifully, love and possibility. That deep connection that can happen between a performer and an audience member, one person or 100 people or whatever. And there can be these incredibly emotional moments.
Absolutely.
If you, and it's wonderful when you can work that into your routine. But Eugene Berger used to say that a lot of magicians are afraid of that, like there's this powerful, and they'll make a joke or something, and they'll dissolve that moment. Can you say anything about that? I think
that magic is Tommy Wonder had something in his book where he talked about, I think he called it point zero or moment zero, where the moment that somebody is astonished by a magic trick, there's an instant where anything in the world is possible in that instant.
Exactly.
Even if they know the trick's not real, in that moment, possibility is endless. We're lucky in South Africa that a lot of our local people have seen witch doctors, and the tribal culture has magic ingrained in it. So magic is more powerful in Africa than a lot of audiences in big cities that are jaded by television and YouTube. They're not. We were lucky to grow up thinking that magic is a powerful thing. So in that sense, yeah, it's
that's terrific. Yeah.
but yeah, I think
I think one of the things that is so important is when a magician can take a trick, it's just a trick in many ways, and present it in such a way that it truly becomes magic, And I think the real challenge is how can you turn a trick into magic, an experience of magic.
yeah, and move the audience in an emotional way for sure. It's
Yeah. Okay.
Because yeah.
Go ahead, Jack.
Now, I was going to say anybody can do tricks. You can learn tricks off YouTube all day long, and you can buy a magic set easily. You can learn to do magic within 5 minutes if you buy the right box of tricks or go on the right YouTube channel. But I think the power of a good performer is the presentation and the experience, like you say, the experience of the magic for the audience.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I wanna, Jax, your magic is, and the way you do magic, and the way you perceive magic, is so moving for me and so inspiring that I wanna find out how did you end up getting in touch with us? Do you remember what happened? Like what happened that you said, hey, I need to talk to these guys? Or
I started my magic career. I started doing street shows, and then I started doing a lot of parties and corporate events and that sort of thing. They were fun, but I gravitated towards audiences that were in extreme conditions by myself. So I was traveling through Africa. I went through Central Africa into villages. I just enjoyed. I'm an adventurous soul, so I enjoyed meeting new people in different places around the world. And so I sort of had a slant towards audiences that you work for anyway. And then there was a magician called Magic Tony from France. I don't think that's his real name, but yeah, he came to Cape Town, and I wanted to meet him because he was doing similar shows in similar things. He was doing shows in hospitals, and I was doing a lot of shows in orphanages and hospitals at the time. So we were working the same market in a sense, but I missed him. I didn't get to see him during his trip, but I emailed him, and then the first thing he said is, "You've got to email these guys, Magicians Without Borders." I'd heard about you over the years through the grapevine. People had said, "Oh, there's this group called Magicians Without Borders." There are a lot of street performers as well that had heard of the name and mentioned you in passing. So I knew the name, and then when he said it, I was like, I need to just connect somehow, find out what you guys are doing. Initially, I just wanted to find out what you were doing, and when I got to the website, I was like, I love what you guys are doing. And then when you had the whole section about starting a magic class, I'd been working with a friend called Angelo Kutsi in Cape Town, who used to work with a group called Childline. So they help children that are in extreme trauma or that sort of thing. They go through schools helping children in problem situations. And we've been friends for years. We didn't see each other often, but I reconnected with him and said, I need to do something new with what I'm doing with my magic. And then I contacted you at the same time that I spoke to him the first time, and then contacted you, and then went back to him and said, I want to start this magic class. And he was like, let's do it. Let's do it tomorrow. So serendipity as well, absolutely. I poured my heart out to him, and within a couple of days, he was like, we can set this up immediately. And when I first contacted you, you said in the training materials, I remember you said, you've got to find a local guy or a local group that can help you in the community, and he was that guy. So it all fell together perfectly.
That's pretty cool because in our methodology, that's exactly what we need when we want to start what we now call an education chapter anywhere in the world. We need a magician that leads magic as you do, Jacques. As it's more than a trick. It's more than a performance. It's more than a way of making money. It's just a tool that can generate hope and transformation. And we need to have a local ally, we call them. And as Tom said in the conversation about Colombia, when he read the magazine, when he talked with Gustavo Lorgia and his daughter, she already had a contact with one of those allies that ended up being the ally, our main ally in Bogota. And you had Angelo, and Angelo was in contact with the local ally, because we do need those. We do need those. And in our methodology, we don't, we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have a building. We don't have a place to hold the magic classes. We need an ally for that. And so you went to the training. Like, we send you a link to do the training. And
excellent training. And what I enjoyed most, I enjoyed the training, but also what was very powerful for me was the check-ins, the WhatsApp call check-ins with you. Any questions that I had, you were a good sounding board for things that I needed to know, because it was all new to me as well. I've done magic for a long time, but I haven't taught it in this context before, and it's a community that I didn't know personally. So there were challenges. The kids that we were working with initially, they were a bit. It was a.
So can you go a little bit deeper on that? So right now, for those of you.
Angelo was working with a group of children that were struggling in school. So the community that they live in is a place called Pontehevel, and it's quite a gang-ridden area. Can be dangerous if you don't know the area very well. So it's good that we had a contact on the ground, as you say. The children that were connected originally, we did shows in the schools. He did a little presentation for the children about success and goals and that sort of thing. And then I did a short presentation, magic show, and then said, we're signing up some kids for this program. Can you come along? And he selected the kids for the program, he and his team of guys that he works with. And then he had classes in the local church hall, Angelo's church hall.
Is that what the picture is from? Can you see the picture?
Yeah, that's where the picture is from. Yeah, you can actually see the pulpit behind me.
So that's something that I mean that and Tom, you can help me with the word here in English. That I don't know if the word is crafty or scrappy. That having Angelo and Jacques come up with, let's hold the classes in a church, right? Like we don't have a proper to do it at, and we need a place, and coming up with that place.
Yeah, that's really important, to have a place that's in the community where the kids can gather. Maybe they already have a connection with that place or not. Sometimes they don't. But that's true of all the programs we have around the world, that they're anchored in a community center, or a foundation, or a church, or something. Yeah.
So for me, it was always very, very inspirational how you guys came up with this. You were very creative, very, very bold in saying, hey, let's hold it up here. And sometimes can you tell us like what happens when the church is not open, is not available? Like, what do you do then?
We've moved to the public library. We on the days that we couldn't get into the hall for double bookings or other situations, we went to the local library, who initially were not quite sure what I was doing there. They weren't sure what magic was, or I had to take them to the magic section of the library to show them the books, the magic books, so they could see what I was teaching. But then after that, the nice thing about magic is it's visual and interactive and explains itself. So I was able to. I had an entourage. I was like the Pied Piper. arriving on their doorstep with like 50 kids initially. We whittled them down to a smaller group, but initially there were all the kids in the area came along because they all wanted to see what this was about. Because there's a lot of boredom. There's a lot of boredom. A lot of the reasons the children end up in gangs and having problems is because they're so bored. There's nothing to do in the community. It's not because they're bad kids. It's because there's no other options. So there was suddenly this strange guy wandering around doing what looked like magic. They all came out of the woodwork to come see what I was doing. So I arrived at the doorstep at the library with tons of kids, and they weren't quite sure what was going on. But after they saw it, they were very supportive and open to us doing the classes. They actually wanted us to stop at the church hall and come to the library in the end. But the church, the church is where Angelo is working, and he does amazing work from there. So that's our base. But
it's pretty cool to hear that and how resourceful you guys have been, and we've seen the work with our firsthand, and that's very, very inspiring. When you meet the kids and you see, you can imagine all the road that they have traveled and how they have gotten better and better because of the work you do, Jacques. So I just wanted to thank you again for that commitment that you have had with these kids. And I want to, go ahead.
The children as well have taught me so much about life and magic. They're all got magic souls themselves. They have a very different outlook to life from what I have, and they've grown up very fast in tough conditions. But they're amazing souls, all good people, and they made me a better person for them. So anybody that's watching that's considering starting a chapter, I'd say do it, because it's the most life-changing thing for the teacher as well as the kids. We keep focusing on the children and how much good we're giving the kids, but it's transformative what we as performers get out of it as well, as teachers get out of the classes too.
That's wonderful to hear, Jack, because I think, as Tom has said before, that the magicians sometimes are not conscious of the power that they have because they know magic, and how they can teach it in a different environment. How powerful is that? How powerful is that for the kids, but also all the things that go around it. It's going to change you. It has certainly changed me and all the other head local magicians that we have had in all the education chapters. They say the same thing, that the kids learn a lot of magic and they're wonderful, but hey, this has changed my life as well. So that's wonderful.
Something else you said, John. Something else you said, that the area where you were working there, where we came and visited and worked with the kids, is a kind of gang infested, kind of rough area. The very, very first program that we started in El Salvador, in Santa Ana, was right in the heart of a very powerful Salvadoran gang called MS-13. And what we ended up creating without knowing it was, so many of these kids join gangs because it gives them a sense of connection and belonging and a sense of family in some ways, and a sense of meaning. And what we ended up creating was like a magic gang, and these kids were connected with one another, and they didn't need to join a gang, because they had a gang. They had their fellow magicians, and it was quite fantastic, and I imagine you've seen that also, Carlos.
Yes, I completely agree. And you see it the longer you stay with a group, how that it has the same effect as a gang. Like you see kids that are in gangs or that are involved in something that's not that positive, how they carry themselves in social media, for example, right? And you see our kids, their pictures are, with doing a fan with a deck of cards, right? Or having, some magic prop with them, and that's how they want the others to perceive themselves, to perceive them. And that's, because I am part of, the magicians. We are the magicians. And you see how powerful that is also when they meet another magician that it's not from their circle or from their community. When they get to meet somebody else and they say, "Oh, you're a magician," you're like, "Oh, me too." We're in the same gang. We are magicians, right? That's very, very powerful.
What is interesting?
Go ahead,
is
Jacques.
Initially, I was wondering how the local community would welcome us, because it's a new program, and I was happily surprised to see how even at once or twice we had gangsters come to the front door asking what we were doing and checking out the program to see what we were doing in the space, and they were very supportive to see the good that we were creating. So I went in with an open mind and unexpectedly positive response from everybody.
That's also wonderful to see how that's something that can, break down barriers and get people that are rivals, it levels them up.
And I think the key is consistency as well. Somebody mentioned that a lot of groups arrive on the doorstep in areas like that, promising the world, and then they're there for a couple of photographs and hand out a couple of food parcels and they're gone. The fact that we there on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, meant a lot to everybody. After the third or fourth week, everybody knew we were committed, and it was a real thing. So
that's really so important, Jacques, what you said. That means so much to them, that you come back week after week, and that's so important. Yeah.
I think that's one of the main reasons why this program is so powerful, is that the consistency that we show up and we go back, because in these communities, in this little, how Tom said, these fundaciones, these little social projects in the slums of big cities, they get so many visitors because there's so many volunteer programs, and every time somebody comes, the kids always say, "Hey, when are you coming back?" Right? And because volunteers have such a great time, their instinct is to say, "I'll come back," right? I'll come back, because they really want to, but circumstances are so difficult to align themselves so that they can come back, that the kids are constantly being let down by promises that are not fulfilled. So that's why, as Al is pointing out, it creates trust. That, hey, I can trust now this guy because he said he's going to show up, and he did. And so many people in their lives don't. And I think that's so powerful.
One of the hardest things about this pandemic is that we've had a very, very strict lockdown in South Africa. It's been effective because the virus rate was high, and we're going into what they're opening up back to what they call stage 1, where everything will be back to normal in a couple of weeks' time, hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks. But the idea of not seeing the kids and not being able to communicate with them because they don't have means of communication without us physically going to that was tough the last couple of months. So it'd be nice to reconnect once in the next 2 or 3 weeks, get the classes back.
You think you'll be able to meet with them in person in 3 or 4 weeks?
I hope so, yeah. I'm also going to be recruiting more kids in the next couple of, once we're back up and go to the local schools again and get some more kids on board, so we can have a second group, bigger group.
Yeah, from that same area?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Get a bigger gang.
Yeah, bigger gang. A recruitment program.
That's what we're doing here. So I just wanted to come back to, hey, Jax, we emailed you, did the training. You said you get in touch with Angelo. You started the program, and then I said, hey, Jax, how do you feel about we visiting you? And
Awesome. I was so excited. But and also when I told the kids in the class, because some of them didn't realize where you were coming from. It's a foreign concept. They didn't understand that America was the other side of the world. Some of them did, but some of them were like, "Oh, that's cool." And when you finally arrived, they were like, "Oh, wow, this is the real thing." Magicians from far away. So yeah, it was amazing to hear when to actually finally meet you. I remember the first time I met Carlos in the street in Cape Town. I was like jumping up and down with excitement.
So cool, because we just got to Cape Town, right?
Yeah.
We got to Cape Town and we met in this wonderful place that's just very touristy, very nice. And do you remember what was happening in like the square area of that place, of the waterfront?
There was the College of Magic was having an outdoor show at that time.
So
A lot of serendipity. Even when you were here, there just happened to be a group of refugees sleeping in the church. I remember.
Oh yeah, Green Market. Yeah, Green Market.
That was just an absolutely random thing that happened to be while you were here. We were able to do a show for them after you left.
And remember everyone said, "Don't go there, don't go." And we're like,
That's but yeah, amazing how that's serendipity as well. Incredible.
That's awesome. So you were very excited of having these, people go over there that are these magic service trips, and we ended up doing a bunch of shows. And I just want to go through some of the shows that we were at, because I remember this one very vividly because it was not an easy show to do. This was if I remember correctly, it's called Lily Blom.
I think this might be the one in the township in Kailicha. This was the Kailicha. This was the AIDS orphanage.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was the AIDS orphanage. Yeah.
So I remember that this show was very hard to do because, as you can see, it's just one room and all the performers are there. Were a bunch of us. And all the kids are there as well, so it's a very tough environment to perform.
It was very hot that day. I remember, yeah.
Oh, it was very hot. The place was hot, and trying to do a show that's entertaining and that you feel good doing, but it's a tough environment to perform. But I feel that trains you a lot as a performer, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think the conditions we worked under were good education for all of us. It's not always about the stage and the microphone and the camera screen. It's the one-on-one live interaction with people in their own space. Something that I remember now. I remember that taxi driver when we went to shows. That was one of the most powerful parts of the whole trip for me. For those that are listening, we got onto a taxi for something else. He drove us somewhere else, and also he was a gangster from what I could understand.
Yeah,
and he was quite proud of his hustle that he was on, and we got him to come through the next day after we met him the first day to take us to
St. Joseph's.
And halfway through the show, I looked over at him because he came in to watch the show.
Yeah, but I just want people to realize how taxis work in Cape Town, because these taxis are not taxis like we have here in Bogota or in New York City. They're this yellow or black thing is that you just wave your hand and they stop. No, these are vans, like 15 people vans, and everybody gets in them, but they get off at certain spots. It's a very weird kind of taxi for people that have never seen them. And I remember Jacques saying, "Hold up, I'll get a taxi for us." He just goes in the street, hails down one of these things, make sure it's empty. Then after it's empty, says, "Hey, ride with us." And then we hired the taxi for the whole day. And the next day he's like, "I'll pick you up here." And I remember how tough these guys seemed, they seem, rugged and, very, like, I'm tough, and you see them and you're like, they're tough. They were not smiling. They were always grumpy. And at the show, I remember both
They were
of
like
them.
kids.
They lost it. They were laughing. They were ecstatic. They loved the show. They just loved the show.
Yeah. That for me was a good evidence of how powerful and healing magic can be. That man was driving his taxi for days and days and had no idea that he would be sitting in a children's home watching a magic show of all things, and it transformed him. He was, I think, at one point even in tears. He was so happy with what he was experiencing.
He was in tears. And when we went back, when he was going to drop us off, didn't he drive us back to where all of his homies, his fellow...
Yeah, he made me go steal all the watches.
Said, please go out and do some magic for these guys. And you went out, Jacques, and did it, and you took one of their watches.
Yeah, but
it's really wonderful.
Like, hey, look who I'm driving. Look who I'm driving. He made sure that everybody knew that he was driving around a bunch of magicians. It was so cool.
And initially he was pretty hostile toward you.
He didn't like
when
the
you
whole
came
thing.
up to the window and started, he said, "Get out of here! What are you doing? Get out!"
Yeah, he wasn't a friendly guy. Magic.
Yeah, completely magic. And I just want to get to two more experiences that we have. This one, I think, was one of the most challenging shows we did, but also one of the best ones. Do you guys remember this one?
Yeah, that was with
Oh my God!
my friend Caswell.
Here of
There's my son straight from my chest. I did that trick with my baby son.
Want to paint the picture for the people that are listening to this in a podcast. This is a picture of, I don't know how many people were there, but it's more than 200. We're in a sand kind of pit, and there's all these people around us, and there's Jacques in the middle performing, right, almost completely surrounded. And it was the first show that he did with his very newborn child, who was how old is he there? Like less than a year, right?
Yeah, he was very, very much less than a year. A couple of months old.
Strapped to his body and just doing a performance. Perfect. It was just very, very good show. So tell us a little bit about how did you set up this show, where we're at, how we got there?
This was through a friend of mine called Caswell. Caswell works with what's the local Metro Police. And he lives in that area. He's hugely respected by the locals. We wouldn't have been able to go to that area without him having set it up. He's an amazing man. He started there initially as a policeman. He wanted the kids in the community to have some sort of support system. So he started a gym in his home for the local kids, and it just grew into a bigger and bigger thing. And it became a community group for the children in that area. So he set it up for us. That's the local playground. That show was at. And yeah, he's very passionate about the work that he does, and does really, really good work. So again, that's a case of somebody in the community that's able to set things up for us. We wouldn't have been able to do that show without his setting that up for sure. We wouldn't have been able to get into the area.
The importance of having somebody on the ground that knows the place, that has already trust with the community, and helped us set that thing up. I remember that show. Tom, do you have any thoughts about that show? Any memories about that show?
Just that, I imagine that a lot of the people there had never really seen magic, maybe in their life, or maybe on television, maybe, I don't know, maybe not even there, but it was happening right in front of them. And it's really, really wonderful to go to a place like that. And especially if there's someone there who introduces us, and to connect with them, and to show them something that they've never seen, and to make them really laugh and be in awe. It was a wonderful show. It was great. And then we went back to his house. It was
He hosted us in his house. He introduced us to his family, very numerous family, and then he had a little snack surprise for us. It was just a wonderful day. I remember we had a blast, and it meant a lot to him that some people that were visiting the country and the city, put the time aside to go there. Right? I think for him that was. It's very hard to get that across, but he was so proud of being able to do that for the community, that had happened for his community. It was
right.
A jolly guy, right? He's so hyper and
wouldn't believe that he's a policeman there.
He's so cool. And for him saying, we live in this stigmatized part of town. And the relationship with the police is never easy, as we've seen worldwide, and then having this moment of just joy, pure joy in the community, of everybody laughing. I remember we did things that we never did do. I mean, I danced, like did like a little dance off with a kid, and we had a blast. We had a blast in that church.
And I think something. As I think Jacques said earlier, Carlos, anybody who's thinking of maybe when we can go on service trips again, that these are situations that magicians just never get to perform in. They're wide open, they're kind of wild, they're people who don't speak your language, perhaps, and yet you find out that your magic is this universal language that can bring joy and happiness to people in all kinds of situations. And it's a real wonderful thing to go on these trips and, perform for folks who have never seen magic, or very seldom, if ever.
For them, I think the community also felt very, what's the word? They were very thankful that we went there, and they felt kind of chosen. I don't know what's the word, but they felt that they came to see us, right? But I want to know, yeah, they were very appreciative, and I don't know if you remember that we were done with the show, right? We're like, okay, we're done, and they just stay there. And then we're like, no, we're done. That's it. Bye-bye, right? And then when they got bye-bye, then they're like, oh, so we can move now, right? And they stopped being, sitting down, very nice, to just mobbing us like, that moment was like, oh, and I could see the faces on some of the volunteers like, whoa, what's happening? They just wanted to get to know us, and just they were very curious, and even though language was a huge barrier, they started. I remember that there was a blonde performer, and they wanted to touch the hair of the blonde performer, and what was that like, and then the photographer that was there, that was my wife, they wanted to get their picture taken with a same as a professional camera. It was, I don't know, it was just so surreal, the whole experience. I love that performance. That was cool. That was pretty cool. And just so we don't, we can stay here and talk with you for hours, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna do this again. I just wanna try and wrap this up with the final part of our magic service trips, and the final part, as a guy in Facebook, Al Baldwin, just say hello to Jacques. So,
hi Al.
I have to say hello. One of the last parts is that we get to meet the kids from the program. So with the volunteers, we go to where Jacques is holding the classes, and we hold a class with them and for them. and we teach them a couple of tricks. We go there and spend time with the kids, and it's a wonderful experience. But we do that with a goal in mind. The goal is that we're going to perform. We're going to do a performance at the end of the trip with the kids, and we're going to hold it in a very cool place. And we end up holding this show in the College of Magic. So this was for me a wonderful thing to see, because for us to do social magic, the College of Magic has always been a place that's very recognized for doing that. And here we are in a picture. This is Tom and one of the kids of the program, and Alex doing a show. So that's Anzio, if I'm not wrong, right?
It's Enzo, yeah.
And we're performing in a paid show, so people actually paid money to see the show, and that was one of the first big public performances for the kids. So I just wanted to ask you, Jacques, what was going through your mind while we were preparing for this show and doing all this right before we went on stage on the College of Magic?
It was a very emotional time. Experience, because I'd invested a lot of time and energy into these children's lives over the previous weeks and months, and to see how much they'd grown in that time just from the magic. It's incredible to see how magic transformed them in the time that I had with them. And then it all solidified, because they, like in this picture, they all got Magicians Without Borders T-shirts. As they put the T-shirts on, you could see them realize that this was real. They were magicians now, and it was the moment of realizing that it wasn't all just stories. You were real magicians from America who'd come to teach their magic. Was very, very powerful. It was like I was in tears during the show just to see the growth that it had.
Yeah, it was so moving to have these kids, looking up to you, saying, like I want to go and perform, but give me confidence that I need to go and perform. And they were looking at you, saying and when they were doing the tricks, they're always very preoccupied, looking at the teacher and saying, hey, am I doing this okay? Am I doing this okay? It's just so wonderful. So wonderful to see.
The lessons they learn in the classes and in these programs will stick with them for life, even if they never go to another class again. They'll have, yeah. I know that their lives are on a different path as a result.
And that's why I wanna turn this little moment, as we always do, in a little fundraising moment. Like we are able to do this kinds of shows because and of trips and of this whole magic transformation because of people that help us. And so if you know somebody that might be interested in helping us out in broadening our impact, please help us share this donate a link of magicianswithoutborders.com/donate so we can continue to do this. Because for me, seeing this from the beginning of hearing the place Cape Town for the first time, and bringing that into my awareness of saying we could do something in Cape Town, to this final picture right there. That's all of us that went to this magic service trip in Cape Town right after the show, and we were ecstatic. I remember the kids, they were feeling out of this world, saying, we did this show. And I remember we collected some money and we showed them the money that they earned, and it was just amazing to see their faces going like, we did this. And they were so ecstatic, and they kept saying yo, like express of doing something wonderful or going through something that was wonderful. And this was just a life-altering moment for them. I'm pretty sure they will never forget it, as also I will never forget it. And the people that were with us in that trip, that are there that came from different parts of the United States. They will never forget it. And I just wanted to take this time to say, hey, if you feel that this is something that resonates with you and you want to help us out, please consider donating to Magicians Without Borders. And if you also have stuff delivered, if you shop in Amazon, you can go to smile.amazon.com and choose to support Magicians Without Borders. So while you shop on Amazon, you can be helping us. So you just go to smile.amazon.com, and it's the same website as Amazon.com, but it's the philanthropic side of it. And while you shop on Amazon, you can help us as well. So I just wanted to turn this into a little fundraising moment, because if you have stuff delivered from Amazon to your door, you can do that and support our work as well. So I just want to conclude this crazy thing that we lived in with this picture of us standing outside the College of Magic, which is a wonderful organization that has a wonderful director in David Gore, who just is taking magic into different places over there in Cape Town. And it was just like that conclusion of this trip. So right before we talk about what you're doing now, Jacques, how would you conclude this crazy experience that we had with this magic service trip in Cape Town?
Absolutely magical. It was. I've been a lot of places and I've seen a lot of things, but it was one of the most moving experiences I've had. And great to meet you guys in person as well, to be able to work with you, because we'd worked for months electronically. But yeah, real bond, family bond, getting to meet you in person. So yeah, I was very proud of the work we did and the work we're going to still be doing. And I'm sure there's going to be lots more challenges in the coming months, but it all works out with when there's magic involved. So
yeah.
Of course, any words to conclude this trip, or what you were feeling, or what you expected, or what really happened?
It was more. I was amazed at the amount of serendipity. We talk about that as well. The amount of things that just flowed. We sort of had things happen as we needed them. Things fell into our laps. As like the taxi driver, just the timing of everything made me realize that it was a bigger mission we were on than just what we'd planned. We were changing lives with a bigger purpose behind us. So yeah, I was inspired, and I'm sure every trip is like that. It's my first time involved with a trip like that, but I can imagine every year it's the same thing. So yeah, inspiring. And
Tom, yeah. Anything you want to add to this?
I just want to. I'm just feeling so grateful to Jacques and to you, Carlos, and to Mario in El Salvador, and Diego, and Tamara, and Priyanka, these folks around the world who are doing what we're talking about, taking a group of kids and transforming them, and making them more confident and focused and full of self-esteem by learning magic, and it's a wonderful thing. And if there is somebody out there listening in some part of the world who might want to join this amazing group of teachers, please contact us, and we would love to see if you're someone who might do this in your part of the world. So I'm very grateful. And Carlos is our director of global programs, and you're doing such an amazing job. Thank you. Thank you so much. And just to finish, I just want to say that what you're doing now, Jacques,
cool. Yeah.
The pandemic, it's just mind-blowing to see. So can you tell people that are listening, what are you up to now?
Well, we can't do magic shows at the moment because we're under lockdown in South Africa for the last couple of months. and by the looks of it, there won't be shows for a little while. I've drawn in pen and ink since I was small. My grandfather was an artist for the Air Force. He used to draw all the airplanes and tanks and things for the Air Force. And I used to watch him as a kid, and it's sort of been in my blood since then. And now recently, I've just started creating artwork to sell, pictures of things that inspire me. I've started drawing faces of people that I feel I connect with, and going from there. So yeah, selling artwork at the moment. It's my side hustle for now.
But it's just wonderful. The detail that goes into this is just mind blowing. Look at these pictures. We're seeing these pictures. They're just so realistic, and so, I mean, you can see the detail and the amount of work that goes into this. How long does it take you to do the one on the left, for example?
I don't keep time. I just do carry on working till it tells me it's done. There's quite a lot of detail because it's most of it's done in dots. So it's and the one on the right with the lady's face. Somebody challenged me to work as big as possible. That's a meter tall on that one. So that was a couple of days. There's a lot of dots in there. Drove me insane halfway through.
And they're not only so beautifully rendered and realistic, but they have such feeling and soul in them, and their eyes, and they're just really moving, Jacques. It's fantastic. I think I wrote you a few days ago just saying.
Yes, thank you. I was about to reply, and then we did this.
We got to do this reply. I just was so touched by your artwork. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
It's just wonderful. So if you guys wanna follow Jacques, just go to Jacques Le Seuer official and Instagram. You can see all his pictures and the magic that he's gonna continue to do right after lockdown. So thank you so much, Jacques, for being here.
Thanks,
with us.
guys. So good to see you.
Oh yes, it's wonderful.
Thank you. And say hello to Tanya.
I will. I'm going to wake up now and tell her.
Okay.
This was amazing. Thank you all for being here, for you guys listening in the podcast. Make sure that if you like this, you like and subscribe and share with anybody that you feel that needs to hear this. So thank you, and we're going to finish this episode of Magicians Without Borders Conversations.